Okay, so today we're going to be solving two-step equations, day one. So when we have all the parts, we simplify the expression to find the missing total. And that's just like what we have been doing with order of operations. We have all the parts, so here we plug in 4 for x, and then we simplify it to find the total of 18. When we have the total, however, we solve the equation to find the missing part or variable. So now we're going to see problems like this, where it says solve for x. 3x plus 6 equals 18. 18 is our total, and so we're going to want to find x, the missing part or variable. So what we do is we drop the bar, and we first get rid of the constant. The constant's the number without the variable, which is 6. And we do the opposite to get rid of it. So since it's a positive 6, we're going to subtract 6. These cancel out because of the additive inverse property. We're left with 3x, and then 18 minus 6 equals 12. And then to get x by itself, remember this is 3 times x equals 12. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide each side by the coefficient of 3. That's going to leave us with x, or 1x. We don't bother writing the 1 because it's invisible. And then 12 divided by 3 is 4. So x equals 4. And so now we have the missing part or variable. And so we could even ensure that 4 is in fact x by plugging it in here. 3 times 4 plus 6 to see if it gives us 18. And so now we're applying PEMDAS because we're trying to see if this entire expression here on the left gives us 18. So we would multiply first. 3 times 4 is 12. And then we would add second. 12 plus 6 is 18. So since 18 equals 18, we did in fact find the missing part correctly. So it says, so let's practice finding the missing parts given the total. So we are finally solving equations. All right, so here are some examples that we're going to work through. Okay, so we're going to practice solving these 3 equations and practice checking using substitution. Okay, so again, we're going to drop the bar. The bar just helps us remember that whatever we do to the one side of the equation, we've got to do to the other side. And so our first step is to get rid of the constant. The constant's 5. Opposite of a positive 5 is to subtract 5. These go away because they're 0 because of the additive inverse property. And we don't need to bother writing 0. And then 19 minus 5 is 14. Second step is to divide each side by 2, because this is 2 times x. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. X is now by itself, and 14 divided by 2 is 7. So you need to make sure that you're showing work in this same manner so that you're showing all of the steps. So now to check, what we do is we replace using parentheses. So we know x is 7, so 2 times 7 plus 5 should give us 19. And so PEMDAS says to multiply first. 2 times 7 is 14. And then PEMDAS says to add second. 14 plus 5 is 19. So since the left side of the equation equals the right side of the equation, we are in balance and we have done this correctly. All right, let's look at the next one. We drop the bar. 4x plus 3 equals 27. The constant's positive 3, so we're going to subtract 3 on each side. These go away. 27 minus 3 is 24. And now it's a one-step equation. 4 times x equals 24. So we're going to divide each side by 4 because that's the opposite. And we find that x equals 6. We substitute. Now that we know that x equals 6, we substitute using parentheses. And then we follow PEMDAS. So multiplication comes first in PEMDAS. And then 24 plus 3 comes second in PEMDAS, and we see that that's 27. And so since 27 equals 27, check, we are in balance. All right, next one, drop the bar, get rid of the constant. Constant's positive 5, so we're going to subtract 5. The 5's go away because of the additive inverse property. 9 minus 5 is 4. 4 times what equals 4, and so we need to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. So we use a fraction bar to show division. We don't use the division symbol, we use a fraction bar, and we get x equals 1, because 4 divided by 4 is 1. We use substitution to check. And so after I plug in using parentheses, I follow PEMDAS. 4 times 1 is 4. Second step is to add 5. 4 plus 5 is 9. And so since 9 equals 9, check, we are in balance. Okay, so now that you understand the process of solving equations, if you turn to the second side, I want you guys to go ahead and try 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to pause the video here, and then that way you can practice solving and checking. I'm going to explain the number line part after you have tried 4, 5, and 6 on your own. So again, just solve 4, 5, and 6 and check it, and then I'll explain the number line part. All right, get to work. Okay, so you should have had enough time to solve numbers 4, 5, and 6 and check. So for number 4, you should have gotten x equals 6, and then here's the check. For number 5, you should have gotten x equals 15, and then here's the check. And then for number 6, you should have gotten x equals 2, and then here's the check. So if you messed up somewhere, compare your work with mine. Okay, so the number line is for us to graph the solution. This is really going to help us when we go into the next unit, which is inequalities. So if we look at number 4, the solution is 6. So that means that the answer is 6. So on the number line, I would just need to add 6 here to the right of 5, and I would need to draw in a closed circle to show that the answer is 6 on the number line. Okay, for number 5, the answer is 15. Again, my number line's not big enough, so I'm just going to stretch it out and put 15 over here to the right. I know that there's not 10 spaces in between 5 and 15, but I know that it's going to be to the right of 5, and I'm going to draw a closed circle here on 15. And then lastly, number 6, the solution is 2, so my number line is big enough, and I'm going to draw a closed circle on 2. Okay, and this is really going to make sense when we go into the inequalities unit. All right, so lastly, let's go over some vocab, because this unit is very heavy on vocab, so our unit test will have lots of vocabulary terms. Okay, so it says 5x plus 14 equals 19. 5x plus 4 equals 19. 5x plus 4 is an algebraic expression. And remember, it's an algebraic expression because it's got numbers, variables, and symbols. 19 is the total. 5x is a term. 5 is the coefficient. Remember, it's that number in front of a variable, so the coefficient. And x is the variable. 4 is that number by itself, so it is a term and also a constant. Because it's a number all by itself without a variable. And so if I look at this expression, remember we did this in the slide, there are 2 terms in this expression. 5x is a term and 4 is a term. So there are 2 terms in this expression. Okay? So it says now your turn, using the equation 6x minus 3 equals 33, answer the following. What is the coefficient? Remember, that's the number in front of the variable. You should say 6. What's the constant? Remember, that's the number alone. And so we've got to take into play that the constant is a negative 3 because of the minus. And then what is the value of x? It's telling you to solve it. So I'm going to rewrite the equation over here so I have room. And then once I rewrite it, I'm going to drop my bar and start solving. So the constant's negative 3. I'm going to add 3 to each side. These go away because of the additive inverse property. 33 plus 3 is 36. Divide by 6 on each side, and x equals 6. I am a student that always wants to know whether or not I'm doing things correctly, so I'm going to go ahead and check even though it doesn't tell me I have to. So I'm going to replace x with 6, follow PEMDAS. 6 times 6 is 36, and minus 3 is in fact 33. Remember, this is a calculator unit, so you can always use your calculator as well to check. So it says, what is the value of x? X equals 6. Okay? So if you need to re-watch this video, it's on Google Classroom while you're doing your homework tonight. Therefore, you know how to show work, how to find x, and how to solve two-step equations. Good luck, guys. Thanks for watching.